you discovering the truth? Well, I'm still discovering the truth. That's what we do as we keep on growing in life. The truth is inside of us, and it's wonderful when we have the courage to tell it. I have a puppet that I want to show you. This puppet has a big mouth with teeth. People must not bite other people. When I was a little boy, I used to play a lot with puppets like this. I played a lot about my feelings. In fact, playing about feelings is a great thing for people to learn how to do. And many are very good players. Make-believe is a kind of play, you know? So let's just have some make-believe.
And they have no right to try us. They have no right to accuse us of anything. You know, and I say like, if the people want me to go on trial, I'm ready to stand trial for the people. You know, I feel like I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything.
From birth, Tupac would be utilized as an agent provocateur, a mere stepping stone in the path of lies. In the revitalization of the Black Power movements, he was appropriately named after a revolutionary leader because he was being primed since birth to adopt this role as an adversary to the government. We have seen these characters being created and introduced to the public each decade in order to commence a revolutionary movement or thought. Then they are killed off and reaffirmed as martyr figures, serving as an example of what happens when you disobey the government. Ranging from MLK to Rosa Parks to Huey P. Newton, agents are issued out to carry out psyops. Time and time again, these figures come from families with connections to government agencies and exhibited as political activists, publicly killed off and marketed as martyrs, with their stories being sold off into each new generation to bolster the anti-government heroism and the understanding of the effects of anti-government activism. But let's start from the beginning.
After she finished reading, then they would put the books in the library, you know. But the people that were in the jail couldn't read it. So I can't say that she had any kind of freedom at all because they were just slick with what they did. Could you tell us something about at least maybe a typical day?
Tupac's mother, Alice, changed her name to Afeni Shakur and became active in the Black Panther Party in the late 1960s. Wikipedia tells us Tupac was born a month after his mother was acquitted of 156 charges of conspiracy against the United States government and New York landmarks in the Panther 21 trial. Panther 21 was a group of Black Panther members accused of planning coordinated bombing and long-range rifle attacks on 2 police stations and a Board of Education office in New York City. This was another blatantly fake trial. The only detail we're given at Wikipedia is that the prosecution read Chairman Mao's Little Red Book and showed the court the movie The Battle of Algiers. Do you really think a competent prosecutor would waste time reading communist propaganda and screening a film? We aren't even told what their goal was in doing this, other than to show the dangerous ideas behind the Black Panthers' ideology. But you don't need to watch an entire film to show this, nor does it prove anything. And do you think a competent judge would let the court's time be wasted watching an entire film? What was this? Movie night at the local courthouse? No. A judge in a real trial would have told the prosecution to move on. Apparently, the judge didn't mind wasting the court's time, since the trial ended up lasting 8 months and being the costliest trial in New York's history. After this long and torturous trial, we get this tidbit from the New York Times article announcing the acquittal. There wasn't enough evidence after 8 months? What were they doing for 8 months? Oh yeah, reading Mao and getting refills on popcorn. The prosecution should have had piles and piles of evidence, all the evidence they collected in order to charge the defendants with 156 counts of conspiracy against the US government. Also ridiculous is the fact that Tupac's mom represented herself in the trial, refusing to use an attorney. We are supposed to believe a poor farmer girl from North Carolina successfully defended herself in the New York Supreme Court against 156 charges of conspiracy?
I was rearrested along with 21 other members of the Black Panther Party on charges of conspiracy to murder some pigs, and attacks against our party still escalated.
The jury member quoted is another clue here. Frederick Hills worked for McGraw-Hill Publications, now McGraw-Hill Education. If you think it's simply a textbook publishing house, you're wrong. It bought S&P in 1966, the National Radio Institute in 1968, Time Life Broadcasting in 1972, Random House in 1988, and Macmillan in 1993. It also bought California Test Bureau in 1965, meaning it wasn't just publishing textbooks, but also designing educational testing systems. CTB develops testing for all 50 states, 49 countries, and 18 million students.
Lessons develop the kind of thinking students need in order to produce the kinds of products we're looking for.
In other words, McGraw-Hill was and always has been a massive propaganda organ touching newspapers, books, television, and education across the world. McGraw-Hill was involved in this race-baiting project because that's what it's good at. In 2015, McGraw-Hill was accused of whitewashing history after it published a geography textbook showing a picture of African American slaves with the caption, "Workers."
To rewriting history as a major publisher makes a change to one of its textbooks. Kobe Burin was about to read chapter 5 of It's a New World Geography book when he noticed questionable language referring to African slaves as workers and immigrants. He sent a text picture of the passage to his mom. She then posted a video flipping through the book detailing what it did and did not include. It has been shared all across the country, getting the attention of the publisher, McGraw-Hill.
This controversy, like all other racial controversies these days, was completely manufactured, and McGraw-Hill has been part of it since at least the Black Panther days. Jury member Hills, note the last name, which is just a part of Hill, as in McGraw-Hill, was just playing the part of jury member in this little piece of theater. Other actors included the prosecutors from the DA's office, Joseph Phillips and Jeffrey Weinstein, and the judge, Charles Marks. Those names tell you everything you need to know. Marks had earlier presided over the Malcolm X murder trial, which was another fake trial. The Panther 21 bombing plot was a hoax coordinated by the equally fake CIA-created Black Panther movement. The fact that Tupac's parents were involved in this hoax and the Black Panthers is enough to out him as a spook. Tupac Shakur was not his real name. This is an immediate and glaring red flag. Saying even his real name is a mystery since neither of his parents were crooks. His mother was born Alice Faye Williams, and his father was born William Garland. So where did crooks come from? We aren't told.
We are told by Tupac's alleged father, Billy Garland, that Tupac was the product of a short affair that he had with a Feni at a Black Panther office. So who is Lassane Crooks? There are no real government-known records of the Lassane Crooks. It is also possible Tupac was never Afeni's biological son. Looking at the younger Afeni, one would think she could pass for a lesbian. I also found an article about Afeni in a magazine called Ike. In this article, Afeni appears in the section called Dykes Behind Bars. She was allegedly cellmates with an inmate named Carol Crooks. This is the only link between Tupac's alleged real name. This section states Crooks continued to spend time in and out of correctional facilities as a young woman. Afeni became close to Crooks. In the book Evolution of a Revolutionary, it states, Afeni continues, and the women in the party chose to stay away from me too. Their Panther men would tell them things about me like Afeni's a freak and Afeni's gay or Afeni's weird. Women didn't want that association. Especially being gay, because then you don't get Panther men. But this is something I learned later. I also think they gave Afeni and Tupac a nose ring to force the mind into thinking like mother like son, to make them resemble each other. It's a clever mind trick, but in reality, they're not mother and son.
Crooks. We're told his mother made up the name when she filled out his birth certificate so that he'd be harder for her enemies to find and track. But this explanation makes no sense, since we were already told Alice Afeni was acquitted of 156 charges in a very high-profile case just 2 months before Tupac was born. That means she was in custody during most of her pregnancy. We're also told the FBI was surveilling her before her arrest as part of its COINTELPRO operations. Did she really think they'd just stop tracking her the moment she was acquitted? In any event, did she really think the FBI couldn't figure out what she named her son? And that still doesn't explain why she chose the name Crooks. If you really wanted to throw off the feds, would you pick that name? She may as well named him burglar or arsonist.
The Panther 21 trials were a hoax, so this would make Afeni's prison time fake, and we were given entertainment identities. Therefore Tupac's real legal birth name is unknown and never will be publicly disclosed. Some CIA operatives assumed fake names to match the documents. I believe from birth Tupac was given a fake identity and pushed through the public school system, while behind the scenes he was privately taught. How can you tell someone is a CIA agent? This person says I can't think of one trait that all agents have. The two in my immediate family are extremely eloquent and well-spoken. They are really into politics and know what's going on in the world. Both speak a foreign language. Both have one of those faces that could fit in anywhere and a good understanding of what makes people tick. If Tupac was an agent provocateur with a fake identity, then it's likely he wasn't really 25 years old. Why would the CIA give us real personal information if it's an operation? Let's take his social security number for example. He was allegedly born in New York. His social security number is said to be 546-47-8539. As we look up how social security numbers were given, it says prior to 1973, social security numbers were assigned by our field offices. The number merely established that his or her card was issued by one of our offices in that state. Tupac was allegedly born in 1971. The first numbers of the social security number for people born in New York are 050134, but Tupac's social security number is listed as him being born in California, with the number of 5455573, which means the created number is one of someone that's born in California, not New York. Maybe this is why he loved California so much.
When I sat in that prison cell up in New York City, all I could think about was California and how much I love California and Sunset Boulevard and Crenshaw and Long Beach, everything just, oh man, the 101, the 110, everything. I just love California. Roscoe's, El Polo Loco, Taco Bell, everything. I love California. That's all I thought about. I used to have a homie send me pictures of just California, just the streets and stuff. So when I came out and Dre had this beat in this song, I was like, this is the song for me. California love. I want to put California back on the map because the East Coast like screaming out West New York, and they kind of like disrespecting the West Coast. So I'm gonna put it back down to the West Coast to show like we ain't really tripping off, you know, hip hop or really nothing. Not me personally. I'm gonna speak for myself. I don't care about hip hop and all of that. I'm a rapper. I'm just rapping. So California love is just for all my people in California, the West Coast in general. I love you. I love you. I love you. This is where I make my home at. This is where I just love California.
That's a long way from MC New York. Remember, they give fake identities to make it impossible to track who they really are. Another thing I find odd is, Tupac's alleged birth certificate was issued at the start of his career. As if they're saying Tupac Shakur, the rapper, was born. At the same time, Death Row Records was established. To me, the Black Panther operation was over, and now they're implementing it into hip-hop to further push the racial tension with Tupac. In my mind, Death Row Records was never meant to have longevity. This is why the main acts were Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Tupac. Everyone else lacks the promotion, as the stage was only being set for Tupac.
Introduced me to Adrian Gregory, who was managing Digital Underground. He was like, I'm gonna send you to Digital Underground. They're in the studio. You just rap for Shock G on the spot. If he like you, then I'll pick you up. Yeah, I just walked in, rap for him. He's like, okay, good, you're in. Boom, boom, boom. I'll see you later.
Oh, come on. Hey, let me tell you one of my favorite Tupac stories. When Tupac was in his mother's womb, I was selling Black Panther newspapers to raise money to get out of prison.
Wow. Yeah, my father was in the Black Panther Party, and I actually was raised in the Black Panther Party.
There's the real connection. Money B's father was also in the Black Panthers, so this was not an ordinary walk-in and rap for Shock G. There's a prior connection that connects all the key players. This is why Tupac was accepted so fast. Let's get back to Tupac's alleged mother.
Mentelia's search of Alice Faye Williams pulls her up as Alice Faye Williams. Note the misspelled middle name. We know it's her because it says she worked at the Black Panther Party. Right, as if it were a business and she was on the payroll. It doesn't show her being related to Tupac, Jarrell, or her husband at the time of her death, Gus Davis, which is odd. It does show her being related to a Janice Williams, and an Intellia search on Janice shows her being related, in turn, to an Alice Burleson. An Intellia search on that name brings up an Alice Faye Burleson, age 70, who has also worked at the Black Panther Party. Intellius is clearly messing with us, sending us off on a wild goose chase for the fun of it. All of this points to the obvious observation that names are being intentionally fudged and hidden with no good explanation. It says 168 pounds. That's a pretty big difference. In fact, it's a difference of 47 pounds. Other skeptics say this was a slip-up by the forgers, but it's not a slip-up at all. It's an intentional signal. 47 is year one of the CIA, and we have seen that number all over the place with these projects.
On Twitter, the CIA continues mocking the public, tweeting, "No, we don't know where Tupac is." Notice the date of the tweet, July 7th, 2014, the 7th month, the 7th day, 2014, 2 plus 0, plus 1, plus 4, equals 7, there's the 777. They're laughing at the fans. The CIA knows exactly where Tupac is.
For further evidence, when they first released Tupac's coroner's report, they blacked out the first 3 and last 4 digits of Tupac's SSN, but leaves the middle 2 visible. Guess what those numbers are? 47. Why wouldn't they just black out his entire SSN? Because it's a signal. It's marking this whole charade as an intelligence project.
He literally was not who he claimed to be. It was all a role, a characterization. The same for his alleged mother. Agents are issued out to carry out psyops that mislead and misinform the general public and keep them unaware as to the actual agenda taking place. This Tupac character served more than one role. His was to be both an instrument in the collapse of the black community, an advocate for government antagonism, and to make rap mainstream. His alleged family and lineage are not as heroic and prim of the heart-tugging Black Panther narrative that's been told. Tupac comes from a bloodline of informants who have worked for the CIA. Notice how all of the Shakurs are under aliases and are not their actual government names. It is only to give an indication that they are fulfilling a role and are characters being used in these movements. Tupac, Afeni, Asada, etc. All Shakurs, all under aliases rather than their real government names, and coincidentally all have ties to the Central Intelligence Agency. This whole time we thought that Tupac was against the government, when in reality he works with them. His entire career and life was a staged event. When it comes time for character proverbial assassination to occur, he began releasing material giving clues as to what's to come, fled the country and took his millions with him, and because he is connected to the federal agencies, he never has to worry about being caught. Tupac was not even his real name.